The following show is a paid program.
Family, how you doing? On today, we have my friend Cecil Willis. He's a council member in Stafford, and he is running for mayor this time in 2020. We want to do a shout out to the family of past Mayor Leonard Scarcella. Prayers to their family. And I just wanted to say thank you for coming.
Well, thank you, Cam. I've looked forward to this for quite some time.
I appreciate you so much. We're just going to jump right into this.
Good.
First 36 years of being council member at Stafford. Wow.
Yep. Started in 1979 and stuck with it through thick and thin. And I'm an Aggie, so Aggies believe in tradition. So I'm keeping the tradition up with the help of the good people of Stafford. I've been very blessed that they've supported me. For that time. So
absolutely. So you've been with Mayor Scarcella all that time. He was the longest mayor here in the United States when he passed. 50 years. And by doing that 36 years, you know Stafford.
Well, if I don't know Stafford by now, I'll never know it. When I was in 1973, I was driving through here, and the population sign said 3,729 or something, and now we're over 18,000.
Wow.
But my first connection with the mayor is in 1976. I ran for the water board. And Mayor Scarcella was president of the water board before he went over to become mayor. So if you want to know about something, you ask somebody that knows something about that instead of an amateur. So when I had a question, an issue, or concern about the water, I would call the mayor and we would work through that and he would help me. So
absolutely,
he's kind of been a mentor since 1975. And then in 79, when a position on council came open, I just ran and moved over to council, just following his path.
Absolutely. In looking at, I love Stafford, a lot of things that you all have. One of the major things I really like is no city property tax. A lot of people don't know that. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, since 1995, we've operated this city for 25 years on zero property tax.
Wow.
And from the information we have, we are the largest city in the state of Texas with zero property tax.
Absolutely.
And people just don't understand it, and probably we do not tout it and promote it enough. Because it's a benefit to attract residents, businesses really.
Yes.
And it's the residential and the commercial. There's no tax on any dirt or building to the city in Stafford.
And that's what I love about the city. It's such a unique place to be. And just you all have operated your budget on that for all of those years. And with yourself going into this, you have that knowledge. So straight from, let's just say day one going in, you're already prepared.
Well, there will be no learning curve. There will be no internship.
Right.
If I'm blessed to have the people of Stafford select me, it will simply be moving from one chair to another chair. I am not going to change with a title. I am who I am, and I will continue to be who I am. But the zero property tax is a tremendous thing for this city.
Yes.
And also, I've been through 36 city budgets.
Yes.
I've been through 3 water district budgets. I ran a homeowners association executive director for 39 years and prepared and implemented those budgets. After I graduated from college, I was the horticulturist for almost 6 years for the city of Houston. So I prepared that budget implemented that budget. And for 25 plus years, I've been the budget chairman for the Fort Bend County Fair.
Wow.
So I think I understand a budget.
I think you
You
do.
take your revenue and see how much you got.
Right.
You add up your expenses.
Yes.
You balance it, and you do the things that are most appropriate and beneficial for the citizens, and you keep a significant and as large a reserve as you can, because you never know what's coming down the road, like COVID, hurricanes, train derailments.
Yes.
And we've had them all in
Yes.
Stafford.
Yes.
And we're
absolutely.
still here
And
with
you're
zero
still here.
property
It's
tax.
my God. Just looking at this now, 36 years you've been in here. Why run for mayor?
Well, you know why there's a vacant position.
Yes.
And that's a tragedy to all of us.
Right.
And it's not something I took lightly. I took plenty of time to think it out.
Yes.
I looked at what was being said and being done by others in the community. And I said, no, this is something I want to do. I have been committed and dedicated to this city and
Yes.
have the experience. And I felt that I was more qualified. Not that I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I am more qualified than the other people.
Okay.
And I understand Stafford and the wants and needs and desires of this community.
Right.
So that's why I chose to do it and continue us on the path that,
Yes.
that Mayor Scarcella, because we need stability.
Yes.
We need to take a deep breath.
Yes.
We don't need to panic.
Yeah.
There's bumps, there's glitches
Yes.
in life. This is one, but I look at it as an opportunity,
Yes.
not a challenge, an opportunity to redefine who we are,
Yes.
tweak some things, and keep us moving steady on this path, which is work and has which been successful for Stafford.
It has. And like I said, I really love the city in itself because you have so many great uniquenesses about it. And it's right in the middle. You know, as you're just driving, you're right there. It's a beautiful city. And I love the way that you all have put some new things there. Let's talk about Stafford, the center, your center,
Yeah.
your Stafford City Center.
Well, that's the newest infrastructure that
Right.
we've built, and it's probably 15, 16 years old. It has been very successful.
Yes.
And we spent 2 years hiring consultants that knew what they were doing and studying the market. And you can put various sizes facilities in,
Yes.
but we wanted a niche.
Yeah.
We wanted something that would fit our community. An 8, 10, 12,000 seat facility
Yes.
just probably wouldn't work here. So we chose two components, an 1,100 seat theater and a convention center. Now, there's no other one in Fort Bend County.
Right.
Houston and NRG it would be the competition, but in the outlying areas. So we settled on 1,100 seats, and something we're extremely proud of, the Fort Bend Star newspaper
Yes.
last week just voted us the #1 venue in Fort Bend County for listening to live music.
Absolutely.
So we're proud of that. So that's the newest. For mobility, many years ago, about the same time we did the Stafford Center, we put in underpasses so facilitate people getting under the railroad.
Yes.
We physically moved the railroad track 100 feet north to allow for the underpasses. And then we converted North Main and South Main through the center of Stafford as they call a mini freeway.
Absolutely.
And so once you get through Stafford at Pleasant Street, you don't have another traffic light till you get to the medical center.
That sounds good.
So, and we've done a number of things in mobility and drainage. So we've looked at infrastructure forever. But the greatest thing we ever did, and I give total credit to Mayor Scarcella with this, we created the Stafford Municipal School District, which is, in the history of the United States, the only successful breakaway school district in the nation.
That sounds good.
And that's because we had such a diverse community that they could find no racial connotations to not allow it.
Right.
And Ron Stone, I guess you remember him.
Yeah.
Right after we got started, he came out and did a little show that he ran on his newscast, and he started out with how unbelievable it was. I walked into these school facilities in Stafford. I looked around, and I thought it was a school where the United Nations ambassadors' children went to school. He said, I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Sounds
and
good.
That's Stafford.
Absolutely.
That's Stafford.
Let's tell the viewers, look in the picture and just tell the viewers, what would you like to leave with viewers now?
I would just like to tell you that Stafford is a very unique community. Not only that we have zero property tax, but our fire department has an ISO rating of 1. That's the highest you can get. There are 50,000 fire departments checked and graded in the nation each year. Only 168 fire departments in this nation have an ISO rating of 1. What does that mean? It means your insurance to your residents and your businesses is at a lower rate because of the exemplary rating you have on your fire department. The other thing is, and I have touted it everywhere, and it's right here on my flyer, that Stafford embraces, endorses, and loves the diversity of this community. It is a quality that this community has. And we are so appreciative of it. And that is one of the reasons why I have always said there's a special bond between the residents and the government they have in Stafford. Because government cannot do the things that government does unless they have the support of the people. And the people of Stafford have always supported their government because it's open, it's transparent, it deals with facts, and it states the truth. Now, sometimes that's difficult, but that's what you need to do in government. And finally, our shining star, if you will, is the Stafford Municipal School District. It was created for the children of Stafford to give them the best opportunity we could, and we are financially able to do that, of a premier school district. You get one chance at an education, and that's why we did that for the children of Stafford.
That sounds good. We have Cecil Willis running for mayor. Thank you, my friend.
Thank
for
you.
Everything. I appreciate you.
It's my pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, absolutely. It's been
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
Rep.
We'll be right back to the Cam Hill Show after these messages.
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. For a limited time, get $16,000 off all in-stock Cadillac 2019 XT5 crossovers and $19,000 off all in-stock 2019 CT6 sedans. Or experience the first ever 2020 Cadillac XT6 Premium Luxury Collection. Only $519 with $1 down for 39 months lease. Or purchase and receive 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service, striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. Drive the new 2020 Cadillac XT4, only $399 a month, or the new 2020 XT5, only $429 a month, both for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Or purchase the XT4 or XT5 and enjoy 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
Have you been injured in an 18-wheeler accident, truck accident, car accident? Was someone texting and ran into the back of you, not paying attention? It doesn't matter what it is. Give me a call, Attorney Willie Powles. We'll fix it today. The number is 281-881-2457. Again, that number is 281-881-2457. We'll fix it today. Call Attorney Willie Powles.
And now back to the Cam Hill Show.
Hey, thanks so much for coming back. We were there with Cecil Willis for mayor for Stafford. Now we have my friend coming up, Michael Stradford. Tell you a little bit about him, executive director of Warner Brothers in Pictures, but he wrote a beautiful memoir type, Miles' Style, The Fashion of Miles Davis. Hey, my friend, how you doing?
All good, Cam. How are you?
I had to dress up today. I saw fashion.
You look great.
I said, I'm not going to get Michael to tell me that I'm not trying to do it. Man, I love Miles Davis' style. Oh, my God, the fashion he had.
He was very much just a creative individual, whether it was in the kitchen, in the closet,
Yes.
musically, painting. Everything was a creative expression. So his clothes were definitely one of the strongest aspects of that.
I love that. You being an executive director of Warner Brothers, why so a book about Miles Davis?
Well, I've always, music has always been a large part of my life, from my days in radio to the record business. And even though I'm not physically in the music business anymore, I still love music. Mm-hmm. And Miles Davis has always been a really fascinating personality to me. And as I got more into his music, I got more into him as a person. There are over 24 biographies on Miles in print now. Mm-hmm. And almost all of them always talked about or mentioned what a sharp dresser he was. But they never did much more than that. And as I continued to learn more and more about him and see amazing pictures throughout his life, I could see that he had an incredible personal style. And it just felt like it would be a fun project for me, just as something to do. And I always thought it would be cool to add a book to the Miles Davis library.
I tell you, we have some pictures of some of the great styles that Miles Davis had, some of the looks and things like that, some of the fashions that he had.
Well,
just looking at that, but we do want to just do a shout out and do say just something about his love that just passed, right?
Yeah, the first photo that you showed was Miles with Juliet Greco.
Yes.
Juliet Greco passed yesterday. I believe she was 93 years old.
Yes.
Miles said that she was the first woman, the first person that he ever loved, first woman he ever loved as an equal. And when he went to France in the late 40s, as a young man, I think he was 22 or 23, he met her. And she introduced him to Picasso and Sartre, and he was really
that's her
overwhelmed by the way he was received in France as a Black man and as an artist. And he fell in love with this woman, but he wouldn't marry her because he was committed to coming back to America to continuing his career, and he felt that the prejudice of the United States would destroy their relationship, and he didn't want to do that.
Wow. There's something that's on the back of your book. It says, I don't think I ever saw him wear the same thing twice. That was Michael Henderson. It's his basis for Mike Davis. Wow. Never saw him wear the same thing twice. That's style.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Miller, another bassist, said that I guess they were close to the same size at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Miles would have Marcus come over and try on new clothes that
Mm-hmm.
Miles bought so that Miles could figure out if he liked the clothes enough to wear them.
So he was his model.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And his nephew, Vincent Wilburn, who was really instrumental in helping me get a number of the interviews that I got for the book, he told me Miles used to paint in dress clothes and silks and Versace's. He'd get paint all over his clothes, never cared because he rarely wore the same thing twice.
Wow. It's quoted that he was one of the best dressed men of the 20th century by both GQ and Esquire magazine. Through your research,
Right.
Did you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was so distinctive and he never followed trends.
Mm-hmm.
And he understood what looked good on him. He understood what fit him well. And he had very, very particular opinions about what he wanted, what he didn't want. There's a period of time where he dressed his bandmates. You know, when he had band members, he would send them to his tailor and he'd tell his tailor what to put them in and what not to put them in. But yeah, throughout his life, I mean, he was just he always cut an individual path. Except early on, when he first came to New York, he was with Dexter Gordon, who by that time was a well-established saxophone player. And Miles had just come from East St. Louis,
Right.
and Dexter Gordon said, "Miles, you look too country. You can't be in New York dressing like this." And that hurt Miles's feelings, but he upped his game and he never looked back.
Yeah, absolutely. You also said Miles Davis is one of the most important cultural voices of the last 100 years. I'm excited to add a new chapter to an already incredible creative legacy. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, Miles, you know, you hear a lot about a variety of great jazz players. Louis Armstrong, Bird, Coltrane, Duke Ellington, but it's generally within the realm of their music, and that's pretty much it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But Miles just kind of transcends that. I mean, even things that he said in the 60s about how Black people were being treated in the 60s still has relevance today. He even got beat by the police in New York in 1959. And there's a photo of it in the book. So there's just a level of consistency with Miles in terms of his impact beyond the music that, you know, most other jazz artists just don't approach.
And I don't think we know much about that. I don't think we know that part. I think we just know about the music side of him and not all of what he did to impact the world.
Well, you generally hear that he was a great player, and everyone says Kind of Blue is the greatest jazz record ever. And you also hear, well, Miles didn't like white people. And and that wasn't true. There were a lot of people he didn't like, and a fair amount of them happened to be white. But one of his best friends, Gil Evans, was white. As I mentioned before, Juliet Greco, first love, was white. So I don't think that he was anti-white as much as he was very outspoken about how Black people were treated.
Right.
You know? And so he was quick to call something out if it didn't seem right, and oftentimes there was a race component built into it.
I understand that. But by him being in jazz like that, and then his fashion did not I don't think it correlated with what people thought a jazz artist should look like.
Well, I mean, in the 50s and 60s, it really did, because actually the 40s through the 60s, jazz players were usually suit and tie. I mean, they were generally really, if they weren't fly, they were at least very elegant and very refined in their presentation.
Right.
So the photo that you're showing now in this double-breasted suit was like the mid-late 60s. This is early 70s when he got away from the suits and got into more avant-garde stuff. leather pants, eelskin pants. This is when he came back from a 5-year layoff. This was like 1981 when he was just coming back to tour. So he had taken some time off. He was having a lot of physical problems, a lot of health problems. Yeah. Actually, when I saw him in concert, that was the outfit he wore. This is Europe, like 1968. And this is him with Juliet Greco. This is the woman that died yesterday. That was his first true love. Right. And we were talking about that. His sensibility and style is yet another extension of his creative canvas, is said. Yeah, I mean, it's like I mentioned earlier, everything he did was creative. He was a master chef. I mean, he could go in the kitchen and just burn. There are countless stories about how good his cooking was. Right. You know, he changed music several times. He changed his own personal style a number of times. And in the last segment of his life, he really got involved in painting. You know, he was an abstract artist. His paintings sell for thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, and are collector's items. So it's very rare to look at any aspect of Miles Davis's life and not see a real creative flair attached to it. Wow. I like that. And as you were talking about Miles, about his fashion and things like that, it says Miles Davis is one of the most, and we talk about his style and his art, and we talked about the paintings and things like that. But him being a person, you also studied him, the person. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was interesting. When I started writing the book, the original plan was for it to be a coffee table book. But the cost of licensing photos is just really prohibitive. So I kind of put it to the side for a while. But I looked back at the interviews that I had, and the interviews were so rich and they spoke to such a different side of Miles that hadn't been covered before. I felt like, well, there's a book here. You know, it's just different than what I intended. And what I found in my research and my interviews, everyone had a real deep fondness for Miles. I mean, even more than 20 years since he passed. And even like Frances Davis, his wife who passed, I think in 2018, she was effusive about Miles, and they had a really rough road, but she could look back on it with a lot of love. And everyone that I talked to, you know, was happy to talk about different sides of Miles. And everyone talked about his sense of humor. Everyone talked about how misunderstood he was on some levels, and in others were kind of accurate. But there was a warmth and a fondness that people had for him that was really something to experience. And you know, I sat with Quincy Jones. I used to work for Quincy, and I called him to see if we could do like a 20-minute interview, and I was there 3.5 hours. Wow! Because he loved Miles. You know, he just loved Miles. Right. And he was really happy to talk about him. Let's talk about just a little bit about that. I was going to just say that about Quincy Jones. He was really fond of him, and just the aspects of what he thought. What did he think of him? The aspect. He thought a lot about it. Well, you know, one of the funny things about that is when Miles was married to Frances, Miles got mad because Frances had remarked that Quincy was a good-looking man, was an attractive man. Miles got really bent out of shape about that. That's a shirt that Quincy wore that Miles took and painted. He painted that. He painted the shirt. The back of the shirt. Yeah. And Quincy took it out of his archive for me so that I could include it in the book. But he just said that Miles had a real tough exterior, but he said he was really a sweetheart. He just didn't like to show it, and people really didn't know how to access it. But he said that he was the kind of guy that if he was with you, he was 100% with you, and if he wasn't, there was nothing you could do to get him back. But, you know, the last major concert that Miles did was for Quincy, the Montreal Jazz Festival in 91. and he played his old songs from the 50s, which he had said he would never play again. As a matter of fact, he said, if I ever play that stuff again, I'll drop dead. And he died a few months later.
Wow.
But he and Quincy had the kind of relationship where he did that for Quincy.
That was good. That's good to know that Quincy really just their relationship.
Yeah. I mean, and I think as time goes on, and, you know, when I talked to Quincy then, he was 80, 81. So reflection is a part of his day to some extent, you know, looking back on experiences, looking back on people. And so I was fortunate to catch him at a time where he was really feeling expansive and was happy to talk about Miles.
Absolutely. You have other contributors in here. Who else do you have in your book?
Well, there's Ron Carter, the bassist.
Yes.
There's M. Tume.
Yes.
Lenny Kravitz. Lenny Kravitz was great. Brian Ferry from Roxy Music. That's the another thing about Miles. I mean, Brian Ferry was a British rock star.
Right.
And he said Miles Davis is one of his greatest inspirations.
Wow.
You know.
Wow.
Dr. Todd Boyd from USC, he's a professor in pop culture and a Miles Davis expert. Two of Miles's three wives, I talked to Frances Davis a couple times, and she was a hoot. And Betty Davis, who was his much younger wife. They were only married a year. He was 41, she was 22. And she introduced him to the, I guess, more avant-garde style that he segued into in the late 60s. But she was also tight with Jimi Hendrix, and she connected Miles with Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. But Jimmy died before they were able to get together. Michael Henderson, amazing storyteller, great bassist. Marcus Miller, spectacular bassist. Miles's nephew, as I mentioned before, Vincent Wilburn Jr. Vince was a drummer for Miles, and he's one of the main drivers behind the Miles Davis estate. And
what did you were saying about some things that each person was saying, but many of them had their own relationship with Miles. Let's go through maybe some of those, like with Lenny Kravitz.
Well, Lenny Kravitz knew Miles from the time that he was a child. His parents lived pretty close to Miles. And so he knew him, I think, from the time he was 5 or 6. And he said that Miles's inspiration on him came later when he was a musician, because he saw that Miles was able to just carve out his own path, be his own man. And he really felt like that helped him clarify the kind of musician and the kind of man that he wanted to be. And he said he ran into Miles at the airport after he had had a fair amount of success, and Miles gave him a hug and said, "Hey, I'm really glad to see that you're doing your thing your way." And he said that meant a lot to him. And when he passed, Cicely Tyson gave Lenny this red leather fringed jacket that Miles used to wear on stage. And so Lenny's got it in a place of honor at his home in Paris, as well as a statue of Miles that he had commissioned. So that affection runs really deep.
Sounds good. Let's do this. We'll take a break and we'll be right back with Michael Stradford.
We'll be right back to the Cam Hill Show after these messages.
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. For a limited time, get $16,000 off all in-stock Cadillac 2019 XT5 crossovers and $19,000 off all in-stock 2019 CT6 sedans. Or experience the first ever 2020 Cadillac XT6 Premium Luxury Collection. Only $519 with $1 down for 39 months lease. Or purchase and receive 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service, striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. Drive the new 2020 Cadillac XT4, only $399 a month, or the new 2020 XT5, only $429 a month, both for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Or purchase the XT4 or XT5 and enjoy 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
Have you been injured in an 18-wheeler accident, truck accident, car accident? Was someone texting and ran into the back of you, not paying attention? It doesn't matter what it is. Give me a call, Attorney Willie Powles. We'll fix it today. The number is 281-881-2457. Again, that number is 281-881-2457. We'll fix it today. Call Attorney Willie Powles.
And now back to the Cam Hill Show.
Hey, we are back with Michael Stradford. Let's pick up where we left off with some of the contributors that are in the book. I love this book.
Anyone in particular you want to talk about?
I love this book. We were talking about Quincy, Lenny Kravitz, Brian Ferry.
Yeah, Brian Ferry, lead singer of the glam rock band Roxy Music. They were one of the more influential rock bands of the 70s. And Ferry is acknowledged as one of the best dressed guys of the 20th century as well. And Roxy Music is about as far away from Miles Davis as one could get musically. But Brian Ferry really responded to Miles Davis's acoustic music in the 50s and his particular personal style. And, he mentioned that just the way Miles carried himself and the way that he was always challenging himself creatively to find new lanes of music to explore and inspired him. And so, throughout Roxy Music's career and Brian Ferry's individual solo career, they cover a wide spectrum of music. And the fact that more than, 40, 50 years since he was first exposed to Miles, to still have a particular regard for him that he could speak about with such clarity and such real appreciation, I thought was really something.
Absolutely. You said Lloyd Boston.
Yeah, Lloyd Boston is a fashionista. He's
yes.
He's well known for talking about men's style, men's grooming, and he was great. He didn't know Miles, but he understood Miles's impact in terms of society and in terms of Black men. And he offered some really thoughtful observations about Miles and the different styles that he went through different eras, but still being a consistent personality in terms of who he was. And, the clothes changed, but the man didn't.
Absolutely.
And Lloyd spoke about that really elegantly.
Absolutely. And writing your book and then looking at the styles, men's styles now, did you come across some things that maybe are about the same? I've noticed that trends in the 60s and 70s are kind of coming back in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between style and fashion, right?
Yes.
So, the trends now, the very snug suits and the high water pants, and it just is what it is. But the odd thing to me is that the fit of the clothes don't seem to matter as much as they did back in the 60s. A lot of guys, particularly athletes, and this is no knock. This is just my observation.
Right.
Tend to wear suits that look like they're two sizes too small. They don't look comfortable. They don't look elegant. They just look expensive and they don't fit. But if you look at Miles in the 60s, just for an example, his suits all hung a particular way. They draped his body. He used to box. He used boxing as a workout. And so he stayed in good shape for the bulk of his life. And his clothes fit him really well, but he was very particular about how he would want a jacket to hang,
Yes.
because when he played the horn, there was a silhouette that he had.
Mm-hmm.
And if the jacket didn't hang right, then the silhouette would be off.
Right.
So I think that there is for someone like Miles, there was a level of precision and detail that doesn't seem to exist for a lot of today's fashion mavens. But to each his own.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned there's a difference in style and fashion. There's a true difference in that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think that, with Miles, it was a style. He wasn't trendy. I mean, the things that he wore because he liked them and they made sense for him. And he didn't really care what anyone thought, even to the end of his life. I mean, the last, 6 or 7 years of his life was really, I still can't figure out what he was doing, because he was heavily into Japanese designers and the clothes. He looked like an outer space pimp with these big shoulder pads and pajama pants. And by that time he was wearing a big Jerry curl wig. But that was him at that point in his life. That was him. That was how he wanted to present himself, and he did. It didn't matter that that wasn't the style. It was like anything he wore, it was because it said, "This is who I am. This is who I want to be, or this is what everyone else is doing. So let me do it."
And now that you see, because you've been in music for a long time and you've been in the industry for a long time, do you see others that maybe have the same, or they have taken this and said, "Hey, I really like his style"? Maybe they're doing something.
I'm sure there are quite a few. I mean, I don't immerse myself in today's music as much as during my heyday at Programming Magic 102, for example.
Yeah.
Because today's music isn't really made for me. But there are guys like Lenny Kravitz who he has a personal style that fits him, and he's not trying to make it fit anybody else.
Right.
And I'm sure there are other artists who do the same thing. Harry Styles, a young kid from the UK, he's got his own personal style that works for him. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
But I don't really. I think as time goes on, particularly with this pandemic, I'm pretty much walking around in sweats all the time now. So clothes it just isn't impacting me the way it might have a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. In talking about your book and you doing it as a fashion for him, Miles Davis, what would you like for others to know about this book? Because it's excellent. What would you like them to know?
Thank you. I think if you're looking for an in-detailed exploration of him as a musician, there are other books to go to that are really well done. If you're looking for an examination of him as a person in terms of his style, what the times were when he was working, how the culture affected him, how he affected the culture, and also some intimate views of Miles from people that knew him well. I think that this book provides a unique window into that isn't really readily available anywhere else.
I like that. And I'm so glad that you did it, because it does give you an in-depth look into the style, who he was, and personality many times goes with fashion and style, your personality. So you pick up on that in here.
Yeah. I mean, he could be mercurial, and his fashion could be too. His style could be as well. I think he seemed committed to being his natural self, whatever that was, and it expressed itself in all these different ways that it did.
and he left it up to you to figure out if you could deal with it or not. I think about, in a way, it's kind of difficult to talk about the book today coming behind the result of the Breonna Taylor decision yesterday. I mean, it's just mortifying. But I think about, if Miles were here, I'm sure he'd have a really strong point of view.
Right.
And it would be consistent with who he had been his entire life, So he's not one of those guys, or he wasn't one of those guys where you could never know what his politics were, or never know how he felt about things beyond the music, because, some people say, well, I'm just an artist and my political views shouldn't matter, or this shouldn't matter. And he wasn't that guy.
Right.
He wasn't that guy. And I feel sure that he would have some very strong feelings about, not only the results of the Breonna Taylor hearing, but everything that's been going down for these last 30 or 40 years.
Absolutely. And we had mentioned about voting, because that's coming up. The voter registration here, I know, is October the 5th is the last day, and October 13th through the 30th here in Texas. You're in Los Angeles, but here in Texas is the 2 weeks for our early voting. And then November 3rd, of course, is the election day. But voting is serious.
It is so critical. It's like you cannot drive it home strong enough.
Right.
I mean, if there's ever been a time that voting matters, this is it.
Yeah.
This is really it. Yeah. And if you have an opportunity to vote, you just have to do it. It's just one of the things you have to do. Regardless of the inconvenience or the difficulty, get some help. If you have the right to vote, you got to exercise it.
My God, I'm telling you. Now, you are in the California area.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm in. Warner Brothers is in Burbank, and I'm in the town next to Burbank called Studio City. Just a few minutes from the city itself, from LA itself, from Hollywood.
And COVID has happened there too, just like us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
we've been staying home, staying safe, and really minimizing our external contact. Unfortunately, my wife and I get along great, and we've got 2 dogs, crazy dogs, to keep us entertained, as well as a couple kids. So, we've got our own little community here, and we're good.
That sounds good. I'm telling you. What would you like to leave with viewers? If you have a chance, check the book out. If you're interested in Miles Davis, if you ever wanted to know more about Miles Davis, check this out. Now, where would they purchase the book? Where can they get it?
You can get it on Amazon. You can also get it on my e-commerce site, which is milestylebooks.com. That's milestylebooks, plural.com. And there's a discount there, and I send a signed autographed copy if that's something that you'd be interested in. Oh,
sounds good. Now, what's next for you?
Well, I'm going to step out of the screen for just a second. I did another book called Black to the Movies.
Okay.
And it hasn't come out yet. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to put it out, but it's kind of a memoir of, my career post radio, as well as a number of movie reviews from, say, the 60s through last year. So that's finished. That was a lot of fun because there are essays and movie reviews and some just career observations, and it was fun to put that together.
That's fun. That's some good stuff. Yeah. Anything else?
A couple things percolating. I always have a few things percolating. I find that writing is it's interesting. Writing is stressful but enjoyable at the same time. And since I'm writing projects that are personally interesting to me, I don't get bored doing it. I like researching. Research is a lot of fun. So, I just could continue to look for projects that will hold my attention that I hope other people might be interested in.
Well, that sounds good. I'm telling you, I mean, this is it for us. You've told the viewers what you wanted them to know. You showed the book of what you're doing up to date, and Warner Brothers is down the way, and COVID is happening. We don't know when it's going. This is our new normal, right? We've got to wear our mask and things.
Got to wear the mask. It's not that hard. It's just really not that hard.
Wow.
And knowing people that have had COVID and have gone through it, it's like it's so not worth the risk. Mm-hmm. It's really not worth the risk. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But I appreciate you having me on. I miss Houston. I especially miss Shipley's Donuts. Those donuts were, oh my God.
Don't even remind me. I just went there today. Love Shipley's.
Yeah, but Houston was, I was only there a year. I programmed Magic 102 from 89 to 90 before I came out to LA, but made some good friends in Houston and love the city. I love that town. So I'm really honored and appreciative that you would have me on your show.
Thank you so much. I'm telling you, I love this book. It is Miles Style, The Fashion of Miles Davis with Michael Stradford. I thank you, my friend, for everything that you're doing, everything that you're leaving, not only to the city, to Los Angeles, but the world. You're impacting the world, my friend.
Thank you so much, Cam.
And we'll be looking forward to the next book.
Absolutely.
Talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Hey, on tomorrow, we will have Farrell Phelps and Sonia Graham. They will be in studio with me on tomorrow, 12:30 to 1:30 Central. See you then. Bye.